What's going on, guys? We are back again with Mr. Anthony. So we brought you guys two awesome nutrition table talks that you guys have seen. This one, we're switching up the pace. We're switching to training and programming specifically. So Anthony's coached me in several different things, but he's made us super knowledgeable on just about every base. But this one specifically, we're going to talk about programming specifics for hypertrophy and strength, and essentially what the difference is.
So I guess if I was summing it up, the short answer would be when we talk about strength, in terms of strength training dialogue, that would be intensity, and intensity refers to percentage of 1 rep max. So the goal with strength training is to create a mechanical stress that is going to give your muscle a reason to get stronger. With strength training, the closer you are to your 1 rep max, the more demanding it is on the nervous system. So that being said, that's going to affect the amount of volume you can tolerate during a workout and the time it takes to recover from that workout. With hypertrophy, to get a good hypertrophy effect, if you're 76% or higher in terms of percentage of 1 rep max, at 76% you can create a hypertrophy response. So it's almost better to be towards that lower end of the spectrum if your goal is just simply increasing the muscle size and piling on the volume. Those variables are relative. There are things to consider, like training age. If you're old like me and have had the benefit of training under a good coach like yourself, then you're going to have the ability to recruit more of that muscle for every rep. And the more you can recruit that muscle for every rep, the faster the muscle is going to fatigue. Imagine if you're only using 10% of that muscle and you go to complete failure. Well, you'll probably recover in about 30 seconds, be ready to do another set to failure, and you can tolerate more sets. Conversely, if you're using 74% of that muscle when you hit failure, 2 sets might make a greater inroad into your recovery than 5 sets at 10%.
Yeah, okay. That's definitely a good way to look at it and explain that. So obviously, we both enjoy working out. How do you train for longevity? How do you make sure that your joints and everything hold up? Obviously, I think everybody kind of starts out in the powerlifter mindset of, I'm going to move a house, nobody's ever going to be stronger than me, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be the biggest, the baddest, whatever you want to call it. But then, like rewinding and stuff like that, obviously as you age, like you're not going to be squatting 600-700 pounds unless you're Louis Simmons and just doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess like training for longevity, like what are things you've done through the years that have allowed you to train for as long as what you have, and like I said, obviously continue into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, etc.
Coming up on my 80s faster than I'd like. Dr. Serrano actually shared with me, he said, smart man learns from his mistakes, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So unfortunately, I was smart most of my career, so got a lot of injuries and underestimated the value of recovery. To answer your question, how do you train for optimal results? How do you continue to be able to train for longevity? I really feel like recovery is where people are missing the boat. The actual workout that you're doing, the volume I do now and respond to is less than what I did 5 years ago, and that goes back to what I was previously talking about, that I have the ability to recruit more fiber with each rep, and I'm getting a better quality of rep. That being said, because I can recruit more fiber and it's lower volume, if I want to hit my volume threshold to make the muscle to grow, and 2 sets is making a bigger inroad into my recovery than previously when I did 4 sets. As you get older, frequency is going to benefit you more. So give you an example, if I typically did 12 sets in a workout for chest once a week and then gave myself a full week to recover 5 years ago, now I do 6 sets in a chest workout, and 5 days later, another 6 sets. And then another 5 days, another 6 sets. So over the course of a month, you can see the volume will be a little bit higher. However, if you look at each workout, it's a little bit lower and better quality of work. I kind of use it's an overly simplified formula when it comes to recovery. If somebody's up to about 25 years old, for every 2 hours they're in the gym, they need 1 hour of recovery. Recovery would be an unloaded activity. That could be going to sleep an hour earlier. That could be doing something like jumping in a cryo chamber, whatever. When you get 25 to 35, 1 to 1. So for every hour you're in the gym, you need to have an hour of recovery. 35 to 45, and I'm a little north of that. Now you're starting to get to 1 to 2. For every hour you're in the gym, you need to plan 2 hours of recovery. Because remember, recovery is really where the adaptation occurs. That's where you're going to see increase in muscle size or strength. And when you're north of 45, so I'll be 49 this September, I'm actually closer to about 3 to 1. I try to plan 3 hours of recovery specific stuff for every 1 hour that I'm in the gym. And sometimes in order to do that, my number of workouts per week has to go down. Sometimes to do that, I have to go to sleep a little bit earlier. So there's a lot of variables that you can manipulate, but if you try to push the envelope where that recovery is really not your priority and what you're focused on, and you're just thinking training, speaking from experience for both myself and the people I've worked with, there's a 100% chance that you'll stop making progress and sooner or later get an injury.
So that actually does lead me to the next question, but real quick. So when it comes to recovery, foam rolling, stretching, going on a walk or something like that, would you consider those all like, you mean like literally not physically like with a weight in your hand, like you said, unloaded exercises?
So when you think about when we're standing up, gravity's bearing down on us. So my personal recovery regime, to give you an idea, after the workout, usually I'll try to find a little bit of time to just lay flat on the ground for 30 minutes. I go to sleep an hour earlier on a workout day, so that's an hour and 30 minutes. And we'll say my workout took 45 minutes, so I'm at 2 to 1. Additionally, I'll do 20 minutes in front of a red light, so now I'm up to hour and 50 minutes. Then I'll usually jump in either a sauna or do an alternating hot-cold shower for 10 minutes. We'll say the hot-cold shower. So tack on another 10 minutes and then 20 minutes in a sauna, or even it could be something as simple as, I really enjoy books, kind of nerding out as I get older, and I'll just sit on the couch, headphones on, instead of watching TV where you have that blue light coming in, listening to an audiobook for an hour, and that really helps me unwind, helps my brain focus on something different, learn something, and feed that recovery.
So where does ice cream fall in that? I'm just kidding.
Ice cream falls in every single day. That's the calorie side of the equation.
That's always a good recovery, right?
Oh yeah.
So you touched on it there at the very end. How to avoid injury? Like you had said, like, so recovery is king. So foam rolling, stretching, and stuff like that is obviously apparent. Every coach at some point or time has probably preached it to everybody watching, and both of us. I guess, like, what else? Like, what other things like typically lead up in your mind to an injury?
Generally, and this is where I differ from a lot of coaches in my thoughts about recovering and that sort of thing. I think the static stretching, which a lot of people think is pointless, I hate doing it, so that's why I don't do it. But as far as pointless, I think that to get into the stretch position, you have to generally learn to slow your breathing, breathe through your diaphragm, so there's a benefit to that in terms of recovery. And I don't really believe in foam rolling personally, or massage work. When I think about the mechanism of action that those are working through, it just doesn't make sense to me. And from my own experience, when I have been going to a massage therapist consistently, those are the times I got injured. Yeah. For me, it's all about the central nervous system. You have your parasympathetic, your sympathetic. So anything that's going to feed the parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, those are going to benefit recovery. And that's just as simple as learning to breathe through your diaphragm when you're not engaged in activity, so you're recovering better that way. Prior to the workout, for a warm-up, I'm a big believer in RPR that J.L. Holdsworth teaches. I think that anything like that where you can activate your nervous system to send the signal to your muscles to perform in the right sequence and optimally, that there's no better way to decrease the chances of injury. With that, you're improving the signal going to the muscle, you're increasing the range of motion, you're optimizing the firing sequence. Like, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree with that. Last question. So, how do you use injury as a teacher? So obviously, we've both had injuries and stuff like that. Is it better warm-ups? Is it, again, even more recovery? Like, I guess, like, what would you do in those situations? Just, again, along the lines of training longevity.
I think there's a couple things you need to look at if somebody's getting injured. I always start with the central nervous system because our brain drives everything. So if that was in place and they still got an injury, then the next thing I usually look at is programming. Is it a balanced program, and does it complement their needs and offset things that they might be encountering each day that's contributing to poor posture or putting themselves in a position where they're more likely to get injured. And if all that stuff's in place, then usually I'll start to look a little bit deeper at the diet. Are there foods that they're eating that are causing inflammation? Or is there something we could change in there that might speed up recovery or decrease inflammation? So in doing so, increase range of motion and decrease chances of injury.
Yeah. One thing that I've found with a lot of, like, even myself or my clients or interns even, is whenever something like that is going to happen or getting ready to happen, is it's always typically the same thing always kind of occurs. Like, you know, muscles get a little bit tight, they might have like some aches and pains here or something, like just might not feel right when they're moving.
Yeah.
And I've, like I said, learned from you, Ian King, Eric, and watch and like just kind of taking from all of you guys and like just looking at the biomechanics of the individual. Like, when I'm used to how somebody moves and they come in and like they're a little off, like ever since like as soon as somebody walks through the door, you start assessing them from the ground up. So as soon as I see, you know, somebody's shoulder slightly in more, like, you know, somebody like their thumb is rotated in, like just being down at their side, like I know that pec is tight, I know the lat's pulling forward and everything else. So working through a lot of those issues, I think, like even a couple of my current clients right now, just dealing with some basic overuse issues. You know, they work at a desk, so they're on a mouse, so they're all the way out here. I'm like, pull your desk up so you sit right here, so your shoulders have to stay back, so you're not hunched, and you know, just a lot of basic tips like that. It's about breaking, I think, the movement pattern, like what you kind of talked about, whether it's neurologically. I do some different like muscle activation stuff too, slightly different than what JL does, but just different things that help people slightly differently. But I think that breaking those patterns to establish a more efficient one that's better, that's correct anatomically, is what has to change. Right. So
I think one of the simplest things you can have, especially your office clients do, if you, they'll feel a little silly doing it, but tape their mouth so they're breathing through their nose, learning to use their diaphragm. And then the posturology that I'm certified in, we learn a series of eye exercises, and when you think about proprioceptive input, a large percentage of that comes from your eyes. So if they're not converging properly, without doubt, you're going to have dysfunction from here up. So eye exercises are something you can teach them to do at their desk. Simply doing the eye exercises and breathing. If they're having neck pain, shoulder pain, internal rotation, eye exercises will fix that.
You learn something new every day. It's absolutely fascinating. Obviously, like I said, Anthony is a wealth of knowledge. We always love having him on. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is today's episode. Like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. Give this guy a follow too on Instagram. We can put his Instagram handle down there for you. Definitely give him a follow though. He's a wealth of knowledge, super great guy. Like I said, he's coached me through the majority of my coaching career. So thank you so much for having
Pleasure being on here.
And see you guys next time.